Tonight I'm making something called cornflake chicken. Now half of it's cornflake. First you need your chicken, defrosted, and you need cornflakes. You want to crush up your cornflakes. You just use your hands, go like this. Doesn't have to be super fine. Just make them into smaller pieces. For a family of 4, we use about 4 cups of cornflakes. I usually smash these up while I'm defrosting the chicken. That way I don't have to wash my hands more often. Obviously if I'm touching chicken, I don't want to go back and touch the cornflakes. It all gets cooked, but it's just the idea of the whole thing. Now in our household, there are 2 of us that don't really care whether we have the cornflakes or not, so tonight I'll be doing half and half. Like I said, while your chicken's defrosting, you can break these up. I also will take a small saucer usually, and I'm only making half a batch tonight. But normally with 4 cups, sometimes these will run out, and cornflakes are pretty cheap, so I usually take a small saucer and break up another cup, side cup. So I guess really you need 5 cups of cornflakes to make this. Now another secret ingredient is red hot. We like our red hot around here. We think it's delicious. So I get a little bowl like this, or like this. And shake up the red hot. Dump it into the bowl like that. Now tonight I'm a little short on red hot. 2 members of our family just ran to the store to get another bottle, so we'll be in great shape in just a minute. While I'm waiting for them, another thing I like to add is butter. It helps to thicken the sauce up a little bit, add a little bit more flavor. And this is actual butter, not margarine. I like to use about a half to a third of a stick. Put the rest away. Another thing I like to add to the sauce, just to... Let's do that. Another thing I add to the sauce, just to give it a little more pop, is a little bit of vinegar. Just give it a couple tablespoons worth. Now throw this in the microwave to soften the butter up. I like to throw it on defrost. Helps limit some of the splatter. And I also like to get the sauce prepared before I start cutting up the chicken. Again, that's to limit possible cross-contamination. For this meal I also like to use 6 breasts. I know there are only 4 here. I have to defrost 2 more. It's a microwave thing with me. If I have too much, it doesn't defrost right. So I don't like to defrost more than 4 at a time. Another thing I like to do before I start cutting up the chicken, put a little non-stick spray on a couple of cookie sheets that are lined with aluminum foil. We just use aluminum foil because my kids take turns cleaning the kitchen and it's a little bit easier for them to deal with. But the chicken will stick, especially with the cornflake. It's good to have a little bit of non-stick on there so you don't lose a lot of the coating. And you take your chicken off of the tray. Now for the chicken part. So I take my chicken, set it down, trim off any unsightly pieces, like that. Now the trick to this, or one thing that helps make this fun to eat, gives it a lot of extra flavor, is if you cut some thin pieces of chicken. And I like to take a fork like this and cut thin slices. That's a tiny slice there, but just sort of fillet it up. And I do it like this. It's easier if the chicken's still slightly frozen, so I don't defrost it completely. Makes it a lot easier to cut. Sounds like they're back with my extra sauce now. Just like that. You keep cutting until you're finished. Now another thing I like to do is use a shallow dish like this. You'll see why in a minute. Pour some of the sauce into it. Another trick you can do to thicken the sauce up is add some mayonnaise or Miracle Whip. And you take your chicken, grab a piece of chicken, thin piece of chicken, go like this, dip each side in the sauce, take it from one end and roll it up like that. And take it, put it in your cornflakes, roll it around, and take it, put it on your cookie sheet like that. Then keep going till you have what you want. Something I didn't mention was after you wrap these and roll them in cornflakes, you want to make sure the cut end is on the bottom. It helps keep them from unrolling. One other thing I like to do is sprinkle a little salt and pepper across the top. And I set the oven at 400. If you're only making one tray, I would recommend preheating it at 400 so you're ready to go. But I usually make a couple of trays, so everybody doesn't get hungry. I'll go ahead and start one. As soon as I'm done rolling it, I'll throw it in. Then I start on the other tray, and whether I roll it in cornflake or keep it plain, I still roll out the chicken and dip it in sauce like this. First batch will be about halfway done by the time I'm done filling up the second tray. So I can start on the side dishes after I'm done filling the second tray up, and everything will be close to being done at about the same time. When my second pan's ready to go, I throw it in, and I start my side dishes. Sometimes I use stovetop, sometimes we use minute rice, sometimes we use both. Usually make about 4 cups of minute rice. And as I pour it in, anytime I see something might be dark or a little unsavory, I clean it out. So nobody has to see it. Like that. There. And I throw that in the microwave. I usually grab some celery, maybe some carrots, sometimes both. Clean those off, of course. Once they're washed, I like to cut the ends off. Look it over, make sure we don't have any unusual dark spots. I forgot to mention, I like to cook the chicken for about a half hour to 35 minutes. And that's kind of good to know. I forgot to tell you. That's kind of a bad one. Now we wait.
Do you want extra sauce dribbled on your cornflakes? Okay.
And you always make extra dipping sauce.